Just a second. There we go. Happy Friday, everybody. Welcome to the Free Friday coaching call. You'll notice it says not Rick Cheehaw. That's not me. Rick is teaching again this week, so he's all over the place. If you got to see him this week, lucky you. He is in Southern California teaching business planning clinics like a madman. So congratulations if you got to see him. We're doing it again. I'm trying to think if he's teaching next week or if it's just the following week. For those of you that get to see us in San Ramon on the 15th, I'm hoping I get to see some of you. We're all over the place, I feel like right now, but he has just been killing it. It's one of my favorite things to do. Business planning month is usually October and November for us as coaches. So we're talking a lot about it. I'm sure that you guys have been talking a lot about it too. I missed the last couple of these calls just because I've been traveling as well. If possible, come off of the mute and come off and turn your video on because I love to see smiling faces. It gives me energy. Lots of videos turned off today. Thank you, Anthony. Thank you, Bruce. Thank you, Cynthia, for the 3 people who have their video on today. Oh, Angie, thank you. So thank you, Brooke. Thank you, Michael. So I like these to be interactive. So I want everybody to share some wins, share something about this week that gave you energy, something that made you feel like, whoop, whoop, this was a great week. Anybody want to share? Let's start there. Don't all jump in at once. It's okay. No, hold yourselves back. Hold yourselves back. Come on, guys.
Well, Rick and I, this is Shauna.
Hey,
I'm
Shauna.
not on Friday coaching call a lot. I apologize.
That's all right.
I'm trying to sell our listings. Rick and I got one of our career listings pending.
Career listings.
Like,
I love that you call it that.
like seriously, hair loss, hair dye, career listing pending.
Yay.
Thank
That's
God.
a win. It's a huge
Yes. Fingers crossed. We got 10 more days. See if we can get all contingencies.
win. Get it across the finish line. Congratulations.
Yes.
Anybody else want to share a win this week? Bruce?
Yeah, it's more of a process win than anything else. My wife, I don't know if you guys know, but she went through cancer and all that stuff. And this last week, we really just got focused again. We're getting back into it. This last year has been, to me, a throwaway year as far as business is concerned. But personally, just this week, we really got kicked in. She's feeling better. So I think we've made some ahas out of us having a little sit down and a little talk and just getting back into it. She's getting back into the training. She's getting back into these calls. So she's feeling better. So to me, that was probably one of the hugest wins I've had in my career. It's just getting back into it. So, and having her feel better.
Oh, well, that is a
That's
huge
great
win.
news. Yay. Congrats.
I'm glad she's, so this is a build year for you.
Yeah, we gotta catch up, a catch-up year.
I love that. I love that she's feeling better.
Yeah.
I'm glad to hear she's feeling better.
Thank you.
Excellent.
Cancer-free. She'll be on in a second. She had to bomb somebody. So she'll be on in a second.
I love that we've made that a verb.
Yeah, right?
Bomb somebody. In any other context, that would not be a good word, but
right.
In ours it is.
It's Unabomber. That's the one you don't want to say.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. I think
Thank you for sharing.
I think
Anybody else?
She's asking to be let in, by the way.
Oh, yep. Hang on. Let me see. I just let somebody in. Yeah. Anybody else? Lucky?
This is Lucky. I just hopefully this will be a win tomorrow. I showed a property yesterday and we're writing an offer, and the seller sent me a messenger. I didn't know who the seller was, but it's not my listing. So I responded to him to find out that I sold his parents' house when I first got into real estate in 1990. I sold their house, their grandparents' house in 1991, and then their parents' house much later. But he just sent me a messenger saying who he was, and I thought that this would be a great thing for me if I can sell this house, get this offer accepted tomorrow. I'm so keeping my fingers crossed.
Oh, we will cross our fingers and toes for you too. Excellent. Oh, there's Bernadette. I'm letting her in right now. Excellent. Excellent. Okay. Go ahead. Go ahead, Anthony.
Yeah, I'll go really quick. Got a listing that they should be signing today for a co-op. And they're purchasing a house in one of the zip codes near me. So hopefully 2 deals out of this. And
Nice.
more importantly, when we went to look at the house, and usually it can be a negative thing when everyone brings the whole family to come look at the house. But actually, I think I ingratiated myself with the mother and the father and the aunt and the stepmother that showed up.
Oh, dear
And,
Lord.
so this could sprout into multiple referrals, hopefully. But we'll see. And, even if it's a year, 2 or 3 down the line. But more importantly, what was nice, rather than just getting a listing, was that after the people agreed to list their home with me, they actually sent me a nice text message after I left saying, thank you for coming over and thank you for explaining everything to us. We really appreciate it. Not that I need a pat on the back, but it was just nice, to, hear that people appreciate the hard work that you put in, because there are unfortunately, a lot of people out there that, just try to get the listing and leave and, be one and done and disappear. So I appreciated that.
That's awesome. That is a big win. That is a big win. Anyone else?
Selena, real quick, I'm sorry. Do you have anybody waiting in the waiting room?
I just let someone else new in. Yep. Yeah, they keep coming in. They keep popping in each time I just admit them all. So it's unfortunately it doesn't let me just hit admit all the way through. Excellent wins this week, guys. So someone share with me where you ended, because I know you guys have been working on business plan with Rick. Where did we end and where did we want to start today? Or does anyone have something that they feel like they got stuck on in the last week with the business plan that you feel like you need some help with? Anyone feeling stuck on just doing it? Yes, go ahead, Cynthia.
He was talking about the I think the income and the cost of sales and operating expense and stuff like that. And I'm wondering if there's acceptable percentages,
Yes.
for of your income, what should you be spending on marketing or that sort of thing? Because he kind of gave a general, whatever, 30-40% profit, but I don't pay so much to a brokerage. So I'm just kind of wondering if there's any tool like that you might have, or.
There are. Give me a second. I am going to see if I can pull it up quickly for you in the short term. And if I can post that somewhere for you. If not, I will see if I can send that. I have to figure out a way to get that to you. Trying to think if I packed my shift book with me. I'm in California for the next 6 weeks. I was trying to figure out what to pack. And I was my husband's you cannot bring 20 books with you. Go ahead, Bruce. Go ahead.
If anybody in here has been with Keller Williams, they have a book, Millionaire.
Real estate agent. Yeah.
That's probably the best, in my opinion, book that tells you what KPIs you need to be looking at, where your advertising expenses should be. It gives you an insight into what your financial statement should be in your expenses for any one, not necessarily any one transaction, but basically from your income statement, how much you should be spending based off of how much you plan on generating. Now, you have to forecast, so you can base these numbers off of something, but as you move along and you look back on the year or the quarter before, you'll see exactly where your expenditures are and where you can tweak things. So
yes.
Yeah, I have both of those. So
yeah, it's in the budget model
Okay.
specifically.
okay.
Hang on one second. I'm trying to get to it a little bit faster.
I mean, I've only been in 7 Keller Williams offices. I should know that, but but I'm not there right now, so I always forget.
That's okay. That's okay. And it's different for everybody. Because I was in New York, just north of Manhattan, our payroll was obviously a little bit higher than in some places. So we had to kind of accommodate based on where you are. So there were a couple of different things that we had to take into account. Hang on, I'm just trying to get there. While someone else ask a question while I'm still like multitasking in the background. So anybody else feel like they got a little bit stuck with anything in particular?
Can you say the name of the book again? Sorry about
Oh,
that.
Millionaire Real Estate Agent. We call it the Red Book, if you were ever with
Thank you.
KW in the past. Um, Here we go, keep going. Trying to get there at the same time.
Didn't he come out with a second book as well? Other than not Investor, but I thought.
Shift, if you haven't read Shift.
Yeah, not
Um,
Shift. I was in there when they were thinking about putting out a part 2.
I don't
was
think
with
it ever came
KW.
out. I didn't think it came out.
I think COVID changed everybody's ideas and plans at that point, but
You-
yeah, they were pushing that right before we left.
I kept hearing about it. I just didn't hear it actually come out. So hang on. So everyone else is feeling like they're moving pretty well with their business plan, because usually I hear a lot of people get stuck. Those 1, 3, and 5 year goals, you feeling good? Everybody's got it like laid out. That's impressive. There's a lot of people on this call, 25 of you, and they're like, everybody's got it down. Wow.
Okay, I don't have it down.
I would be
Okay,
lying.
Jean's like, she's coming clean. All right.
No,
Go
no.
ahead, Jean.
Yeah, I still consider myself a newer agent. I guess I've been in it 5 years. I did really great off the bat, and COVID kind of knocked me down a lot. So forecast, as to use Bruce's word, forecasting doesn't seem to be in my forte. So I tend to get a mind block right there, right off the bat.
Okay.
You know, what numbers do you use? I'm just at a blank for that.
For forecasting.
Yeah.
So here's the way I like to look at it. So I was coaching one of the teams that I coached yesterday, and it was very interesting because we were going through their business plans, right? And it was a couple of newbies and a couple of people who've been doing it for a minute. And one of the young ladies said on her 5-year plan, she wanted to take her family overseas. And I said, great, I love the goal. Pretty vague. What do you mean by overseas? She's like, I don't know, somewhere in Europe. I said, okay, we're going to dig a little deeper. And there's a reason I'm saying it this way. I need you to define where you want to go. Are we going to Paris? Are we going to Germany? What does that look like? And she was like, let's just say France. I said, okay, now I want you to figure out where you want to go in France. And she was like, why? And I said, because we have to define where you want to go in France. Like, I want you to get online. Are we going to a resort? Which resort? Is it crazy expensive? How much does it cost? Is it an Airbnb? We're going to pick the one. We're going to figure out which one that is. How much does it cost to fly there? Are we flying first class? What does that look? Are we going for 1 week? Are we going for 2 weeks? And we start determining exactly what that costs. Okay, it's $12,000 to go for 1 week, to stay at this resort, to fly first class, whatever that is, right? And how many family members are we taking? And we really break down how much that is. Okay, so now we know we need $18,000 for the 1 week. And she was like, okay, so now what? And I said, now we're forecasting, because I need to know how much you make per transaction on average that you close. And she's on a team split, right? So she's got her team split, plus she's got a broker split. So now let's take into account what's your average price point that you're currently selling. For her, it was about $353,000. Okay, now let's take that. Now, what do you make after your team split? What do you make after your broker split? What are you actually taking home? She figured that out. Okay, now let's take out taxes. Okay, so let's really figure out what that is. Okay, what's that number? Now, how many houses do you have to sell to actually make your monthly expenses? Okay, so we're figuring that out. Now, how many extra houses do you have to sell to save up $18,000 to go on that trip? So this is forecasting, guys. So when we're setting just the requirements of how do we meet our monthly expenses, that's one thing. When we set a goal for an additional thing, and this is how I always break it down for every coaching client when they tell me they want something. I'm like, great, how many houses do we have to sell? That's my answer for everything, because that's really what it comes down to. Like, how many houses do we have to sell? And if you're a builder in EXP, great, how many recruits do we have to get? Like that, those are the two questions that we're going to ask. I'm also a coach, so I'm like, great, how many clients do I have to take on? What does that equate to? Everything comes down because we're in a wonderful business where we get direct control over how much money we make. Okay, so forecasting is about looking at your past numbers, Jean. So what did I do this past year? And that means you have to know what your average price point is, both list and buy, because it depends if you're better at one or the other, or if you feel like you're drawn more to one or the other. And because listings and buyers, typically the numbers are slightly different. Like I know Rick's to a T, exactly what his average listing price is and exactly what his average buyer price is and exactly what his commission is on each, right?
Yeah, like what I've done, I've actually figured it out. I'm almost 50-50 for
Okay.
it over the number of years. Like I just kind of figured out and I went down, and over the 5 years, I'm pretty much, I might be plus 1 or 2 for listings, but for the most part, it's 50-50 right now.
Are you charging the same commission on both?
Well, the buyer side, I take whatever's given. And I have been,
Just
it's
died
been-
inside. Just died inside a little. Okay, we're gonna talk about that in a minute. Just-
so
Talk about
yeah,
that
on
later.
my side, that's what ends up happening. I take whatever is given by that realtor. For the most part, most of my listings were 3, some were 2.5.
Okay, so what you can do then from that point is you know what your average commission is based on that. So now you have a number. So now you can forecast for next year based on what you've made for this year, and you can set goals for next year, whatever that is. And you can forecast and say, based on last year's number, if I want to forecast for next year and I want to set goals for myself for next year, this is what I need in order to break even. This is what I need. Oh, hang on, let me let somebody in. This is what I need in order to meet the goal for next year. And I would encourage you to have a dream goal, a sort of a break even goal, and then that big, hairy, audacious goal. Like, whoop, whoop, this is the goal. And then if you have very specific goals, like I'm going to buy a rental property, or I'm going to pay off my mortgage, or I'm going to go to Paris and I'm going to spend $18,000 or whatever that is, when we break them down based on how many houses we have to sell to equal the goal, you're very driven. You're very driven when there's a specific number associated with the goal, because now it feels super reachable.
So it motivates you a little bit more than to get your butt in gear.
Yeah, it's very nebulous when you just say, I want to go overseas, right? It's not very specific. There's not really anything associated with it. And if you just say, I want to get a rental property, and you actually haven't done the math or forecasted what that equates to, like, here's how much money I need for a down payment. Like when I decided years ago, I wanted a Tesla, right? My boss at the time had like 3. Like I was like, hey, you should get a discount. And, and I was like, I want one, but I still was paying my own student loans. I'm 45 years old. That's how long it took me. And I said, I won't do it until I pay off my student loans, until I put a certain amount of money in savings. And then I feel like I can put a certain amount of money down on getting the Tesla. It took me 5 years to do it. But those were the requirements I set. And I had to hit certain numbers. I was on salary at that point, but I had a bonus structure around it. And so I knew I had specific numbers to equate which bonuses I would get as a result. And so I was the numbers, the metrics, the forecasting was very specific around it. And so because the numbers were so specific, and because the goal setting was so specific, I was driven towards the goal. And it was like, okay, I have to do this, this, and this in order to get to that. When we forecast and we can say it equates to 7 extra houses to equal the down payment for a rental property. Now you have very specific numbers around it, right? Does that make sense to everybody? Like most of the time when people goal set on a business plan, it's very, very nebulous, and you're giving yourself an out. And the reason that we do forecasting in this way is because we're so blessed to be able to have access to all of our numbers and the breakdown and the financials about what our commission splits are and everything there, that you can be very, very specific with determining what next year looks like. Even more so, like I have a guy that I coach in Washington, DC, and he's incredible at his geographic farm because he lives in a condominium complex and he has just killed it in that farm. But the average price point is about $350. And he's like, he kills it, but it's a lot of work. He has to sell a lot of them, right? And he's like, I really want to take it one step further. I want to take my average price point up so that I can like go one step further, not have to sell quite so many of them, so we're getting super, like, I said, like, okay, where do those people move? Right? Because, it's a move up opportunity. So now we work and we say, where do those people move? And that's our next farm. And now we take your price point up a level. So now he's forecasting, like, if I was to take my price point up a scotch and work a new geographic farm, what does that look like for you? You can close less transactions potentially at a higher price point. So we get really strategic with our business plan and say, I can still work this farm, I can still do this, right? But I'm going to come over here, I'm going to start a new farm and I'm going to be strategic about it. Maybe I don't have to work so hard. I hire a buyer's agent to maybe work this a little bit more. I'm going to work this farm better. So Jean, that was a great question. Forecasting is really, really important because when we get really clear on what our numbers are, we can make decisions and we can make a goal setting a lot more strategic. Anybody else get stuck this week? Because everybody was really quiet about not being stuck. Everyone else was like, oh, I got this.
Hey, Selena, it's Anna. How are you?
Anna, good. Good morning.
Good. Just hearing about the goal setting and all makes me think of the years that I was very intentional and did create that vision and that very specific vacation, which was Italy for us for less than 2 weeks. And it was $25,000 and paid for before we got there. And it was incredibly intentional. And I knew exactly what, I had to sell 12 homes that year. To make my first year, I made 96,000, 25,000 was for Italy, 25,000 went to grow the business the second year, and 50,000 is, what I kept. And that was a net number. And I kept doing that. And what I wanted to share is doing this is so much like diet and exercise for the brain, right? And if you're not continuously connected, like we all know 53 ways to lose 20 pounds, right? Yet, right, we'll all start like January 1 and then give up, whatever, January 12 or whatever. And it's really the same thing. But if you're not connected to that why you want to do it, last year I floated, or like this whole year, I should say, because I didn't take the time to create the why. I felt kind of exhausted from the year-over-year growth and accomplishments of these whys that I just didn't create one. And I see it so much so in the income that I make, because there's not this big reachable thing. There's not this focus and attention to something. So I've seen it on both sides of doing it and not doing it, and the value of it. So get very granular on what it is that you want. And then it becomes simple, because you're right, the business planning and the numbers, like it was so clear, not only that I had to sell 12 homes at 400,000 to gross this, to make that, to do whatever, now it was, well, how many calls, a day and how many appointments a week. And you just back it up to that and you just stay on it and you're driven to do it. But without that thing, without that reason why. And I think it was more to like show my husband that I could, because he's like, I would love to take you to Italy, but we can't afford it. And it was, getting the passports for the family 1 month and getting the luggage another month and then ordering the tickets. Then he knew I wasn't BSing. So that was cool. But nonetheless, the intention and the visuals of it all is super powerful, because without it, you're just kind of like, you get what you get and you're okay with it.
Yeah. I would agree, guys. And from here, so the idea behind the business plan is this is not something you create right now and then you put away. Like this is something you're looking at all the time, right? And even with my coaching clients, this is something that we're constantly talking about, right? And when they are having a down month, we're going back to it and we're saying, this is what you told me you said you wanted. And even if you're having a down time, we talk about, we carry that to the next month. So if you had a down month and we just carry it to the next month and we're like, what do we do differently next month? That if we were too short the month before, we carry it and we say, what do we do differently? And it's exactly what Anna said, like, what are the activities that equal getting to that? So if it means that we need one listing appointment a week, we have to be looking at the calendar and saying, what are you doing to equal one listing appointment a week? That's what that looks like. And if your calendar doesn't show that you're doing the activities to equal one listing appointment a week, we have to talk about it. And you have to, and my favorite thing, and don't everybody boo when I say this, okay, don't boo. And usually it's the men. Vision boards, okay? It's okay. It's okay. I promise you, it's okay. Okay. The reason I'm saying vision boards is at the end of business planning and doing this, most people are visual in nature. And when someone hangs up on you after you've just tried to help them, if you look up and whatever you said you wanted is on that vision board in front of you, you are remembering why you're picking up the phone again. Okay, so if it was the Paris trip, or it was the new car, or it was that it says that you want to be able to pay cash for your kids to go to college and you don't want to take out loans, or whatever that is, it's on the vision board. That is what the encouragement is about the fact that you're picking the phone up again when you're feeling like crap because someone just said, please don't ever call me again. Or maybe they didn't even use the word please, they used a different word, which was not as nice. Okay, so that is the idea behind it. But the vision board is that whatever you put on this piece of paper, you are creating visually so that when you're having that kind of day and it went poorly, that you're looking up and reminding yourself about what you said your goal was. Because people are visual. It's one thing to put it in a piece of paper. You're not going to, when someone hangs up on you, flip to page 17 of the business plan and remind yourself. Let's just be real. But if you have a poster or a piece of paper or something in front of you that says, I'm working really hard because I said I wanted to buy 2 rental properties that gave me passive income that would change the life of my children in the future. And I'm going to pick the phone up again. You'll look at that and you'll do it. Okay, so that's the idea behind it. So when people poo-poo over it, whenever I say vision boards, that's what I'm trying to say. It's just more motivating. It's more motivating. So that's why we do vision boards. It's because we are visual and we have a visual reminder where, like, you take a breath, you look back up again and you're like, I'm going to pick the phone up again. Yeah, I had a crap day today. Yeah, I had a crap call, but I'm going to pick it up again because someone else does need my help. Yeah, that person didn't. That's okay. But I might be 6 no's away from a yes. And I'm going to look up here and I'm going to see I'm maybe 1 step closer to my goal, right? 1 step closer to my goal. And that's okay. So the idea behind business planning is never to set a goal that you don't want for yourself. I want you to be realistic in it, but I do want you to have dream goals in there. And this was something that Casey told me, and I don't know if Rick mentioned this in the prior calls about business planning. And I thought it was really very interesting because some people really are visual in nature and they really struggle with the lines of like filling it in. And tell me if Rick mentioned this, but I added it into our business plan, which was the blank canvas. Did he mention this to you guys? Casey gave this to me and I thought it was really powerful and I've been using it with some of my coaching clients. Some people they struggle with the linear aspect of things. And instead of writing on the lines, whatever it is that you want in your 1, 3, and 5 years, instead think of it as a stream of consciousness. And it was literally, I put a frame on the paper and it was just a stream of consciousness on a blank piece of paper. Write what you envision for yourself in 1, 3, or 5 years. Just write it. Don't even think about it. Just like start thinking, like if you could envision your life in 1, 3, 5 years, like just start writing what that would look like for you. Anything you want, whether it's furniture in the house, what your life would look like. Are you in a different house? Is there vacations you went on? And just start writing it down. It doesn't have to be in any kind of linear thing. I don't care if you want to draw it. Stick figures, they're fine. Whatever that looks like. And just then start putting it on the paper, because some people have a mental block with the actual like linear nature of a business plan, right? And then after you feel like you've just dumped all of that out on the page, then go back and look at it and say, oh, I didn't even know I wanted that. Like, I didn't even know that was what I wanted for myself at the end of 5 years. Then work backwards from that and be like, okay, now look what I wanted. Look what I saw for myself at the end of 5 years, and then start building the plan from that, right? Where are you in 5 years? What does that look like? And then now we build the business plan backwards from that. Now we have a clearer definition. Sometimes people just struggle with the idea of putting it on a piece of paper in the format that we're given. People are just not built all exactly the same. So if you're struggling with that aspect of it, maybe that's what we do, just total stream of consciousness. Like, and some people, like I had a very, very young man yesterday, he's like all of 19 years old. And he's like, I don't even know what I want in 5 years. I was like, oh, you're so cute. And then I was like, dream big, like go home and just think about what that looks like for you. Like totally just like anything you want 5 years from now. I was like, oh, you'll be 24 years old. And he was like, huh, I don't know. And I said, just don't overthink it. Like totally just like craziness, you know? And he was like really excited about the prospect because no one had ever really asked him that. And I was like, oh, to be 19 and just completely be able to dream about what could 5 years look like for you. He had no interest in college, which was totally okay, right? He's a realtor. And I was like, you want to buy a house? Do you want to buy a new car? Do you want to go on an amazing trip? You know, I'm like throwing all these things out to him. I'm like, do you want to buy rental properties? You know, just like all of these possibilities that he hadn't considered. And I said, just go crazy with it. Like anything you want on the page, just throw it out there, anything at all. And he'd never been asked that ever in his life. And so, you know, it's just kind of like anything out there, guys, throw it out there and then work backwards. All right, I've been talking for a while. Any questions, any thoughts, any processes? You're so quiet this morning, people.
Selena, I love that. What you were just talking about, by the way.
Yeah. Just, you know, we overthink it. Don't overthink it.
I was writing while you were talking about it, and my list is pretty extensive. So sorry, Bruce. We got to.
You were stream of consciousness. You were doing the stream of consciousness.
Yeah, it just
Awesome.
went on and on and on and on. Oh, you can see the chagrin on Bruce's face.
Yeah, she's been Microsoft Teamsing me. We need to do this. We need to do that. Whoa, let's have a in-person conversation about this. Let's not.
I'm excited.
Yeah,
I love that, Bernadette.
Thanks.
I love that. Anybody else having any ahas or things that you're like, oh, I didn't know I even wanted that? It's interesting to kind of dig deep, right? All right. There's a whole bunch of you not talking. There are 26 of you on this call. Everyone just feel like they have their business plan all mapped out? I am impressed. Everyone's going to send them to me so I can look at them?
well, no. Kidding me?
Do you have an actual business plan that like on paper to fill out?
What-
Yeah, you guys didn't, you should have gotten it, right?
Well, I didn't get one. I came late to the ball game.
Okay.
There's and I'm not the author of the spreadsheet, but I have a spreadsheet that calculates everything that you can back into. I'll put my email address on here begrudgingly. I hope you guys don't start spamming me. If you guys want to see a copy of it, let me.
You aware your car's home warranty is
Anthony.
I have 6 of them. I bought every single time. Just kidding.
Anyone feel like they're struggling with mindset right now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Anyone feel like they're struggling with mindset with even finishing the business plan?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Anyone want to share what they feel like is creating that mindset issue or that mindset block?
I mean, mine is that I just got done beating breast cancer, and
I
I
know,
became
we're so
lazy,
excited for you.
and I'm having a hard time getting out of lazy. You know what I mean? It's like I gotta snap out of it, and then I'm using the holidays as an excuse to not work hard.
gonna argue, Bernadette, that I don't think it was laziness. I
Thank
think
you.
it was
No.
spending the time on repairing your body.
But okay, thank you. But I'm stuck in that mode and I feel great. So I have to get out of, I need a nap at noon or 1, or I can only work for 3 hours today. You know, I gotta snap out of that crap. So that's my problem, if I'm being honest.
The problem is that we work at home,
Mhm.
and that is easy to just retire upstairs. So
Okay.
when you're
Okay.
done working,
So
30-minute lunch becomes an hour and a half.
do you not go to work?
Well, I go to, no, I'm,
Bernadette goes, no.
I
well,
don't.
yeah, it's, I'm getting used to it. We used to have a office at WeWork, and we decided to let that expense go during these tough times.
Yeah.
And not that we use it a lot anyway, but
Okay. So I'm sure most of us work from home, right? And I think that's about creating some boundaries there. I mean, I've worked from home for a very long time. And it's about a boundary with that and creating a level of integrity with yourself regarding the boundary, right? Like, my husband and I both work from home, and like, we don't see each other for 8 hours. Like, so we each go to our office and I'm like, bye, see you 5. We might pass each other in what we call the cafeteria. Like, we pass each other because we've created those boundaries and we've had it for 17 years, right? So it's just like we just pass each other or whatnot. And I think it's just about creating a time block for yourself about what your expectations are with what you want to move forward with. I think, guys, if you haven't read Shift, I think it's an important time to read it. It's a really important time to read it. As this shift is different than the other shift, for sure. I mean, for anybody who experienced 2008, I've been in real estate for 26 years, so certainly not my first one. But it's 90% of that book is about mindset. It'll say, there's a lot of really great information in there about shifting markets, but it is mostly about mindset. And I think when you're business planning and when you are coming into a changing market, your mindset is critically important. And Bernadette, you're shifting from something different right now, right? And it's about designing the life you want when you are designing your business plan. Okay.
Agreed.
And making a commitment to that. And as we're changing in the market right now, all of you need to decide what kind of mindset that is. I've talked a lot about it this week, and it's been very interesting to see what's happening. We all have this sort of outside pressure coming in right now because the media is just, God, please just don't read the news or watch the news at all right now, because it is just not designed to help us in any way at the moment, or our consumers in any way, or agents in any way. So if you go into this with the business planning of saying, I'm not going to let, so has anybody gotten to the point with SWOT, right? Anybody gotten to that point yet with SWOT? No, strengths and weaknesses, opportunities and threats. Strengths and weaknesses are personal, opportunities and threats are outside things coming in. Our threats on the outside stuff is all this crap in the media. Okay, so that's the thing you have to consider. And you need to make sure that your mindset is positive. A lot of people absolutely created their business in a market that was shifting.
Down market.
Yeah. So you have to take that in consideration. Like, am I going into this with the mindset that, oh, business is going to be down and I don't know how I'm going to make it? Or am I going into it with, this is going to be a very fun, creative time to be in business. I am watching people all over the country find ways to be incredibly creative right now. They are finding ways that sellers are selling their homes with assumable mortgages. They are finding ways with buy downs. They are finding ways that buyers are getting loans with local and community banks at lower interest rates. This incredible time to be in this industry because it is fun. This is more fun than I've had in a long time. And it's like, just like interesting. people are coming to the table with just neat and interesting ways of making this work for people. All of those buyers who couldn't buy in the last 2 years are now having the opportunity to buy, right? So go into it with the mindset of what can I do to help more people list and buy right now than could in the last 2 years. So we had a whole section of the population that couldn't be competitive in the last 2 years that kind of had to sit by the wayside that we can help. So come into it with that sort of mindset about that level of the population that couldn't at the time that now we can help, and go into it with all of the agents that are going to have the poo-poo mindset, that are going to leave the market, and then I want you to consider, we just talked about this on the Workman call I was on earlier this morning, your energy attracts energy. So I want you to consider this from the perspective of how many agents out there are with other teams or with other brokerages that are having the mindset that this is going to be a bad time, that you can attract because you are positive. And they're like, hey, wow, they seem to be not worried about this at all. And they seem like they're still doing business. Like, what's happening over there? I want to be a part of that because they seem like they're okay. And they seem like they're still doing business. And I want to be a part of that. So you've got to imagine like what you're putting out, your sellers are feeling. What you're putting out, your buyers are feeling. What you're putting out, other agents are feeling. Everything about you is what's being felt around you. So if your mindset is feeling low, that's what the people around you are feeling. So go into it with the level of energy and excitement. And I'm excited about this market, and I'm excited about the opportunities, and I'm excited about the market share I'm going to take. And you would be surprised what will come back to you, because you're going into it with a level of confidence that I'm coming into this with skills and information and just feeling good about it. And you'd be surprised. Okay, don't listen to the media. It's not true. Open up your MLS, guys. If people say, oh, nobody's listing right now, it's a lie. Open up your MLS and look up how many active listings went live in the last 7 days. I guarantee you it's not 0. Every one of my coaching clients is like, Selena, you don't understand. Nobody's listing. I was like, oh, I get it. Just go ahead and pull up MLS and share your screen. Go ahead. Let's look. And they pull it up and I was like, 136 in the last 7 days. Well, somebody's listing. It's just not you. You decide. Right? So go into it with the mindset that you will. Things will change. Things will change when you decide it's you. Does that make sense?
Can I piggyback on your mindset?
Absolutely.
I'm just wondering if everyone is doing like their own version of a miracle morning, because I find that helps me. Like, I'm not going to do the whole Hal Elrod thing, but it's like you pick up things from different people about like meditation, the visualization, the affirmations, reading an industry book like Shift or MREA or whatever. I think that helps me. My battle, because a lot of you are working at home, is I'm paying for office space. Don't tell Nick Hyde, he's on my team, he's in the call. But it's like, I would love to be able to give up this expense, and work from home. My home is super tiny. So if anyone has advice on how they are working at home and not going crazy, I'd love to hear that too.
Time blocking.
Yeah.
Straight up time blocking.
Really?
Yeah,
I'll
definitely time blocking.
agree. I'll work for a couple hours, then I might do laundry for 30 minutes. And then I don't mind getting back in my office or Bruce keeps ESPN up on one of his screens as a background noise. So if he wants to stop for a few minutes and check out scores or whatever, he can do that. Just don't feel like you're stuck there the whole day, and kind of make the rest of the house a treat. So when you leave your zone, like when I open this door and leave my zone, the rest of my house feels like a treat, like coming home from work. That's
a mindset thing for her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The rest of the house is a distraction for me. It's like I lock myself in here as long as I possibly can, get my lead gen hours out of the way. And that sounds bad. My lead gen opportunities
There you go.
finished.
There you go, Bruce.
That's a
Words
mindset
matter.
thing again.
Words matter.
Right, yeah, absolutely. They hurt and they help at the same time. But yeah, get my lead gen done, and then I'm really struggling with the afternoon. I want to figure out, and I have a sheet that has everything I should be doing in the afternoon. But you know, Bernadette and I, and unfortunately the last year is a throwaway, trying to really dig down, get hard into video, and we're just not. We have a failure to launch. We have failure to launch in that arena. And we both know that it is extremely important nowadays because the mind, the span of attention is about that of a gnat, and you have to get them fast, but we just can't get that going right now. It's really, really bugging me because I've invested the money and it's just sitting there and not doing anything right now.
What do you feel like's holding you back, Bruce?
What's holding me back?
Yeah, right now,
Well,
like right now.
she raised her hand.
Me. Well, for me, it's silly. It's the no hair and the no breasts, and I just have to get past it because that's not what people are looking at. It's about the message. You know what I mean? I have to just figure like, hey, it's not a big deal. Nobody cares. Maybe I'm just flat chested. Maybe I just like my hair shaved. Nobody knows the difference, right? So
It's a vanity thing. Yeah, it is what it is.
It's a vanity thing,
It's
and I can't help it. But I'm kind of feeling over it now that it's been months, and I'm feeling better and I'm looking better, and I've we'll do it. I put it on the calendar to do videos, and we both ignored it. So that's a us thing, but I mean, we'll do it.
Hey, just as, excuse me, my name is Larry Walker. Just as a word of encouragement to both of you, visually, you both come across very strong and very positive and very confident. And I would pay attention to you if you did a video. So you don't have to be perfect.
Thank you.
But you
Thank
both come across and you exude a determination, a positive, a directness, like you're about it. You're about business. So, hey, go for it, man. Just do it. Even if you stumble and make a few mistakes, it's okay. You guys both have what it takes. I mean, it's impressive. Your personas both are very impressive. So thank you.
Oh, you
So,
made me.
yeah, just go for it.
Larry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You
And
made my day.
Bernadette, can I chime in? This is Shauna from Rick's team. And I
Uh-huh.
apologize, I'm not on here very often. But can I just tell you that you represent so many women and some men in this world that the world deserves to hear your story too, on a personal note, not just always business.
Yeah.
I mean, I worked on a team for a long time where we sent out a newsletter, and the very first page of the newsletter was a personal story about either something fun or something that we went through or whatever. And the broker who I was working with side by side lost her mom, and it was devastating for her. And she wrote about it. And it was the most responded to newsletter that we ever sent out.
The human side of
The
things.
human side of things.
Yeah, I gained 13,000 followers on TikTok from 89 followers just from sharing my cancer journey. Most of them are women. So, I mean, I'm sure I can find a way to turn that into a business thing. You know what I mean? Without,
Just
what do
be you.
yeah,
They're hiring you anyway.
right. You're right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Bruce, don't call it a throwaway year. It's not a throwaway year. You did what you had to do.
Okay, yeah, fair enough.
Words matter.
Matter, right? Absolutely. I like I said, and I definitely don't want to make this about us. It was just a very tough year,
No, that's okay.
for more reasons than just it being slow, obviously. And that woman did it all.
Well, I would encourage everybody to continue digging deep on the business plan. Please remember that as you are setting these goals, I want you to think about what you really want for yourself. And I love what Jean said about, forecasting and looking at your numbers. And, most of you you don't know me well, right? Because you're just being introduced to me over the calls, but I'm a super big nerd. Okay, especially with numbers. Okay, so this is why Rick's like, how do you know all these numbers? Because I have a spreadsheet of spreadsheets and I know every single one of his numbers now, but it's because I'm a big forecaster and I look at those things. But when you know your numbers, you can start getting so granular on what your future looks like for yourself. And when you start defining what you want and you start really drilling down into it and you start saying, this is what I want next year to look like for me, and this is what I want those goals to be. And when you start getting really specific on what that cost looks like, and when we can say, I only got to sell 4 extra houses to meet that goal, it starts feeling a little bit more palatable, right? On the inside, it's like, oh, I could sell 4 more houses. Like that feels extremely doable. Like, it's because in our heads, we're not doing the math, right? So that's why when we do the business planning and you look at it and then you say, okay, that's doable. And then when we put it on a vision board, when we're having a truly crappy lead gen day, and we look up at it and we say, what am I working for here? Or when we go home and we say, did I do my lead gen at the highest level to get to that thing today? You know, like certain level of accountability, self-accountability, right? Then that's what's motivating us. That's what's motivating us to keep doing the things that we're doing. That's the idea behind the business plan. It's not in any way, shape, or form for me to be like slapping your hand and saying, are you doing the thing you're doing? It's about a level of self-accountability and for you to dream about what you want for yourself and how do we keep you on that path so that you're feeling good about everything that you're doing. And the big, hairy, audacious goals are like, oh, it's on. Like for me, that's like, it's on, man. It is totally on. Like, I'm gonna get the Tesla. Like whenever I did that day, by the way, that was totally me. My husband was not involved, nothing on it. I went and paid for it all. I drove off the lot with it and I was like, when I drove off the thing. And that was all me. And it felt so good because and by the way, I did it in just slightly under the time frame I thought I was going to do it in. Those feel so good. So think about it, work the stream of consciousness if that's what it takes, put it on the piece of paper, fill it out. When that happens, guys, when you have that business plan, that stays with you that whole year. You're looking at it all the time. You're flipping back through the pages and you're like, am I doing the activities? What am I doing? And I really want you to get down into the dirty numbers. How many appointments is that? How many calls should I be making? How many listings, how many buyers, and exactly what does that equate to? Because that has to be in the calendar. Exactly what Bruce said about time blocking. Am I doing the activities that equate to meeting the goals that you set? Okay, we have to back into it. So if you're not, then we got to talk about it. And we got to say, did you actually do the math accurately? Like if you want to have 100 listings, what does that mean? Like, do the math. How many appointments is that to equate to 100 listings? How many weeks are there in the year? So we got to do the math. And the same thing with recruiting, right? Go ahead, Bruce. Sorry.
I was just going to say, yeah, absolutely. When I send out the spreadsheet, you kind of have to back into it. Again, obviously know where you are and where you were to be able to go where you want to go.
Yep.
And this will give you like a blueprint of sorts. And again, a goal to look at and check yourself against every week if you want to. Another thing we're trying to do, we just need to do it, is the 12-week year.
I love the 12-week year.
So, and obviously for obvious reasons, we haven't been able to get it on, but I think it's an awesome method, and it gives you 4 thrusts a year, just to close out every 12 weeks. And it fits into everything that we want to do. We just have to, again, we know what to do. We just have a doing problem, but we'll get it. We'll
We have
definitely.
a hard time implementing the things we know we should be doing and the things that can be done. We just don't implement them.
You've been in the valley of despair. We need to get you out of the valley of despair.
I think it's one of those things where there's so many things we want to do that you just throw your hands up in the air and say, forget it. We need to pick 1 or 2, start them, make it a habit, and then keep adding one. And as soon as that's a habit, and we have 3 good habits, and then adding another habit, 4 good habits, because it's like leads. If you open your CRM and you see you have 250 calls to make, you're just gonna say, forget it. That's not gonna happen. So when you break them down and you only have 15 or 20, totally doable when you're gonna do it, right? So if that lead has to wait or whatever, a contact has to wait an extra day, you're at least going to do it. Versus if there's 200 people, who knows when you're gonna do it? You just throw your hands up. That's how we are with all the stuff we know we should be doing. There's so many things.
I know we
Yeah.
only have another couple minutes, but Bernadette, there's a concept that I love and I heard about a couple months ago, and it's called habit stacking. An interesting comment, a concept of starting with one until you like master that habit, and then just stacking another one on top of it, and it's more palatable to the brain.
Definitely. We'll do
Well, the book that Rick has us reading or read in SLAM was World's Greatest Salesman.
Yeah, love it.
And the scrolls, you know,
That's
the
right.
very first scroll, building the good habits, and obviously there's a whole industry on habit building and breaking bad habits and good, but a lot of them they're all in my head right now, and we're just trying to get all that going too. So, but yeah, we're on scroll number 2, so it's
That's okay.
it's a start.
Yeah. Today I begin a new life, Bruce. Today I begin a new life.
Scroll
Love it.
1.
Today I begin a new life. Okay, I have to wrap up because we're rolling into the slam call in 2 minutes. Guys, thank you for joining today. I really appreciate the call. I think, you know, just go into this with the idea that this year is going to be impactful and creative and fun, and that it's going to be what you put into it, right? And I want you to not be afraid of the business plan. I want you to do that stream of consciousness for a minute if you feel like you didn't put everything into what that 1, 3, and 5 years look like. And I want you to really dream, really dream about what that could look like for you, and then work backwards from that. This can be a really incredible year. Okay, don't be afraid of the shift. Lean into it. Okay.
I'll get the email to Shauna with the spreadsheet, and then she does what she needs to do. I'll probably do a little video because it needs some explaining too. So give me a little bit, guys.
Thanks, guys.
And
Thanks,
thank
Bruce.
you, everybody, for
Thank
everything.
you.
Bye-bye.